Hello everyone, this is the History Spectrum channel. In this video, we will discuss Atlantis, a story that is still being told today. There are some surprising stories from the time of the exploration, so please watch to the end. Atlantis in Plato's writings. Plato's writings include the story of Atlantis, an ideal island nation, which Plato created to depict an ideal state. He wanted to give people an opportunity to think about ideal societies and polities. For example, in Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Atlantis is presented as an example of a perfect society. This island nation is said to have been technologically advanced and had a rich culture. In other words, Plato used the story of Atlantis as a way to get us to think about what an ideal state would be. The story of Atlantis is heavily influenced by the Greek culture and philosophy of the time. In Plato's time, philosophy and science were flourishing in Greece, and many people were thinking about ideal societies and ways of human life. For example, the idea of virtue was important in Greece, and the story of Atlantis also describes an ideal leader and a just society. Thus, the stories reflect the ideas and values of the people of the time. The story of Atlantis, influenced by the culture and philosophy of ancient Greece, is one example of an ideal society and way of life for people. The ancient Greeks may not have thought of Atlantis as a real place. The story of Atlantis was created by Plato as a philosophical allegory. It was not used as a real geographical place, but as a tool to talk about ideals and ideas. In fact, in Plato's dialogues, Atlantis is only mentioned as an example of an ideal state, and not discussed in detail as a place that actually exists. This suggests that Atlantis was a fictional place, or idealizing rather than actually existing. The story of Atlantis was not a real place for the ancient Greeks, but rather a way of thinking about ideals and philosophy. Historical records of Atlantis. There are few specific historical records of Atlantis. This is because the story of Atlantis is known primarily from Plato's dialogues and is rarely mentioned in other historical literature. No ancient literature other than Plato's has been found so far that describes Atlantis in any detail. This suggests that Atlantis may be Plato's creation, rather than an actual historical fact. In other words, the story of Atlantis is more likely to be a story created by Plato than an actual historical fact. The archaeological and geological evidence for Atlantis is inconclusive. This is because archaeological excavations and geological surveys of the places where Atlantis is said to have existed have found no clear evidence for the existence of Atlantis. For example, there have been attempts to locate Atlantis in various places, such as off the coast of the Bahamas and in the Mediterranean Sea, but no archaeological or physical evidence has been found from these locations that would support the existence of Atlantis. Thus, the current state of the art is that no scientific evidence has been discovered that Atlantis actually existed. Scholars have varying opinions about the existence of Atlantis. The lack of concrete evidence for Atlantis has caused scholarly debate about its existence to diverge. Some scholars see the story of Atlantis as a symbolic lesson and do not believe it existed. Other scholars, on the other hand, argue that Atlantis did exist and put forward a variety of theories. In the absence of clear evidence for the reality of Atlantis, scholarly opinion has yet to reach a definitive conclusion. The search for Atlantis from ancient to modern times. The search for Atlantis has a long history, from ancient times to the present day. People have been fascinated by the legend of Atlantis since the time of the ancient Greeks, and have continued to search for it, believing it to be real. For example, ancient Roman writers quoted Plato in their discussions about Atlantis, and during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, there was a renewed interest in Atlantis and new explorations. People's interest in Atlantis has continued through the ages, and its exploration has spanned a wide range of time periods, from ancient times to the present day. Many explorers and scientists have explored Atlantis. In the 19th century, explorers searched for Atlantis on the basis of maps and historical documents. In the 20th century, oceanographers and geologists used the latest scientific techniques in their attempts to find Atlantis. The search for Atlantis took time. The search for Atlantis has taken time and involved experts from many different fields. Modern technology has greatly advanced the search for Atlantis. The use of advanced technology, such as satellite imagery and deep-sea exploration equipment, has made it possible to explore areas that were previously impossible. For example, attempts are being made to use deep-sea submarines and remote sensing technology to search for undersea topography and possible sunken ruins. With the use of modern advanced technology, the search for Atlantis is entering a new phase of exploration, and the possibilities for exploring uncharted territory are growing. Atlantis and aliens. Some people believe that Atlantis and aliens are related. This idea is based on the legend that Atlantis had advanced technology, and it is speculated that this technology may have come from aliens. For example, there are stories that Atlantis had advanced technology, such as airplanes and electricity. Since these technologies could not be created by ancient people, the hypothesis that aliens may have been involved was born. The story about the connection between Atlantis and aliens is one of those interesting hypotheses that is not based on evidence, but on people's imagination. There is a hypothesis that Atlantis was an advanced ancient civilization. This idea comes from legends that Atlantis supposedly had advanced architecture and technology. For example, Atlantis is said to have had huge temples and metalworking techniques. These technologies are not found in any other ancient civilization, and it is believed that Atlantis may have been a special advanced civilization. It is an interesting idea that Atlantis was an advanced ancient civilization, but we have yet to find concrete evidence to support this. Recent scientific exploration and discovery. Recently, new explorations of Atlantis have been conducted using scientific methods. Increasingly, advanced techniques and methods are being used to try to gain new information about possible Atlantis locations. For example, state-of-the-art sonar technology and satellite data are being used to study in detail the topography of the seafloor. This allows exploration of previously inaccessible deep-sea areas, and new discoveries are expected to be made. Advances in science and technology are opening new doors to the mysteries of Atlantis. New theories and hypotheses about Atlantis are being proposed. New views on the existence and location of Atlantis are emerging, based on the latest research and discoveries. For example, there are theories based on geological evidence that Atlantis was actually located in certain areas of present day, and new cultural interpretations that Atlantis has symbolic significance. New theories and hypotheses about Atlantis are deepening our understanding of this ancient mystery and providing new perspectives. The study of Atlantis will continue to evolve. New technologies and methodologies are being introduced, opening new avenues for unraveling unsolved mysteries. More advanced exploration techniques and data analysis methods will be used to shed new light on the mysteries of Atlantis. This will include deep-sea exploration and in-depth analysis of satellite data. The future of Atlantis research, along with advances in science and technology, could lead to more discoveries and understanding. Surprising story. Here is a story about Edgar Cayce, who was searching for Atlantis in the early 20th century. Known as the Sleeping Prophet, Cayce was renowned for his trance prophecies and remote viewing. He claimed that Atlantis was real and had sunk off the coast of the Bahamas. Apparently, based on his prophecy, many people explored the waters off the Bahamas, but of course Atlantis was never found. The interesting part of this story is that Cayce's prophecy made a big splash at the time, and many people believed him and actually went out to explore, because his prophecy included specific details that the continent of Atlantis would be fully revealed at sea due to a pole shift, an anomaly in the axis of rotation and magnetic field. Many people were fascinated by his words. Ultimately, however, Atlantis was not found, and the search remained one of the many mysteries surrounding Atlantis. Thus, many of the stories associated with Atlantis are rooted in people's imagination and beliefs, rather than in historical truth. They are symbolic of man's adventurous spirit and curiosity about the unknown. How was it? This video explained Atlantis. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like this video. History Spectrum.